It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you because you promised yourself you wouldn't check it again. You feel broken. You feel like the only person on Earth awake right now. But you're not broken. And you're not the only one. For most of human history, this exact moment, wide awake in the dark, was completely normal. You've been taught that sleep is supposed to be one long, unbroken block. 8 hours. Lights out, lights on. If you wake up in the middle of the night, something is wrong with you. But that idea is new, startlingly new, and the truth about what your ancestors did in the dark is far stranger and far more comforting than anything a sleep app will tell you. Let's go back. Not a few decades, thousands of years. Before electricity, before streetlights, before the glowing rectangle that now decides when your brain thinks it's daytime. For nearly all of human existence, night wasn't a single event. It was two. Historian Roger Ekirch spent over a decade digging through old diaries, court records, medical texts, and folklore from pre-industrial Europe. What he found surprised even him. Hundreds of documents casually reference something called first sleep and second sleep, not as a disorder, not as a complaint, as a normal part of the night, the way you'd mention breakfast or lunch. People would go to bed shortly after dark. They'd sleep for 3 or 4 hours. Then they'd wake up, not in a panic, not reaching for anything to fix it. They'd simply be awake in the middle of the night for an hour or two, then they'd sleep again until morning. What did they do in that gap? This is where it gets interesting. Some prayed. Some talked quietly with a spouse. Some got up and tended to the fire, or checked on animals, or visited a neighbor. Some just lay there, thinking, in a state one physician at the time described as unusually calm and reflective. Sex was common during this window too. So, was simply resting in the dark, awake, without any expectation that anything was wrong. Ekirch found this pattern referenced across cultures and centuries. It wasn't a European quirk. It showed up in records from Africa, the Middle East, and Asia as well. This wasn't an anomaly. This was, for most of human history, just what nighttime was. So why don't you sleep like this? The answer isn't biology. It's light bulbs. In 1879, artificial light began pushing back the darkness. Street lamps, then electric bulbs, extended the usable day and compressed the night. Suddenly, staying up later became normal. Suddenly, sleep had to be crammed into a shorter window. The two-part night, first sleep and second sleep, quietly vanished from cultural memory within a couple of generations. By the time your grandparents were children, almost no one remembered it had ever existed. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. In 1990, psychiatrist Thomas Ware ran an experiment. He took a group of participants and put them in a room with 14 hours of darkness a night, no artificial light, for a full month, basically recreating a long ancient winter night. At first, people slept in a single, disorganized block, likely paying off a sleep debt built up from modern life. But by around the 4th week, something shifted. Their sleep split, naturally, without anyone telling them to. They fell into roughly 4 hours of sleep, then 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then another 4 hours of sleep. The exact segmented pattern Ekirch had found buried in centuries-old diaries. Your body still knows how to do this. It just never gets the chance. Think about what that means. The anxiety you feel at 3 a.m., the racing thought that something is wrong with you, that you're failing at sleep, may be a symptom of modern light exposure colliding with an ancient, biologically normal rhythm. Your ancestors weren't lying awake worrying about being awake. They were using that hour. Some prayed. Some connected with the people beside them. Some simply let their minds wander in a state that researchers today associate with meditation and light REM adjacent creativity. There's evidence this quiet window mattered for more than rest. Several sleep researchers, including Ware, have noted that the hormone melatonin stayed elevated even during the waking gap, which may have kept people in a mildly dreamlike, relaxed state rather than a stressed one. No blue light, no notifications, no pressure to fall back asleep by a certain time because a smartwatch says so. Just darkness and time and a mind allowed to drift. Compare that to what actually happens to you at 3 a.m. now. You wake up, you check the time. Immediately, your brain calculates how many hours of sleep you have left, and that calculation itself becomes a source of stress. You might reach for your phone. The light hits your eyes and tells your brain it's daytime, suppressing the very melatonin that would have eased you back to sleep. You scroll. 40 minutes disappear. Now you're not just awake, you're anxious and awake, which is a very different experience than the quiet, unhurried wakefulness your ancestors knew. The tragedy isn't that you wake up at night. Waking up at night might be exactly what your body was built to do. The tragedy is what you do next. There's a deeper layer here too, one that connects to something anthropologists have long puzzled over: how ancient humans survived the night at all. In an era full of predators, cold, and darkness, some researchers, including sleep scientist Carol Worthman, who has studied sleep patterns across modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Hadza in Tanzania, point out that fragmented, lighter sleep may have had a survival function. A group that slept in one deep, unbroken block all night was a group with no one listening for danger. Segmented sleep, with someone stirring every few hours, may have kept a form of low-level vigilance alive across the community, even while individuals rested. In fact, when researchers studied the Hadza directly, they found something remarkable. Across 15 days of continuous monitoring, there was almost never a moment when every single adult in the group was asleep at the same time. Someone, somewhere, was always at least partially awake, not because of anxiety, not because of insomnia, because that's what a resting, watchful group of humans naturally does when there's no artificial light, telling everyone to be unconscious at the same synchronized hour. Your ancestors weren't broken sleepers. They were part of a system, a living, breathing watch rotation that kept the whole group safer. Through the night, built without a single rule or schedule, just biology responding to darkness, the way it always had. Now think about your own bedroom. Alone, usually. Silent, usually. No fire to tend. No one to talk quietly with in the dark. No sense that your wakefulness serves any purpose at all. Just you, a phone, and a culture that has told you unbroken sleep is the only acceptable kind. That's not a personal failure. That's the absence of an entire nighttime culture that used to exist everywhere, and now barely exists anywhere. So what can you actually take from this? Not a hack, not a 5-step plan promising perfect sleep, just a shift in how you understand the dark. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and your mind is calm, you are not failing at sleep. You may be doing something remarkably close to what humans did for most of history. The failure isn't the waking. It's reaching for a screen that convinces your brain the sun has already risen. Some sleep researchers now gently suggest that if you wake in the night and can't immediately fall back asleep, the ancient response might be the better one. Don't fight it. Don't check the time obsessively. Don't reach for light. Just stay in the dark, let your mind drift the way it was built to, and trust that a second sleep will come, because for nearly all of human history, it always did. It's 3 a.m. again. You're awake. But maybe tea is time? That's not a problem to solve. Maybe it's just your body quietly remembering something your culture forgot.